Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting up to speed without, drowning in data. Today we're taking a close look at something pretty interesting. The global market for transdermal drug patches. It's evolving fast. Our mission: to pull out the key insights from Cognitive Market Research's latest report, Global Transdermal Drug Patches Market Insights and Forecasts. Basically give you what you need to know about this field.
And it's definitely a field worth watching. The source really emphasizes the strong growth. We're talking, over $5.6 billion globally back in 2021. And this isn't slowing down. Projections show it hitting nearly $7 billion by 2025 and then climbing further, quite a bit further actually, to over $10.5 billion by 2033. That works out to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of just over 5.2%. Pretty steady.
Okay, wow. So what's fueling that? What's behind such consistent growth?
Well, the report points to a few core drivers. A big one is just the growing demand for drug delivery that's, pain-free and non-invasive. Think about it, a patch versus a needle, or even remembering pills every day. It's often much easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Then you've got the expanding geriatric populations worldwide. They often need convenient long-term treatment options. And finally, there's the critical need for managing chronic diseases effectively. Patches can really help with patient compliance there.
Right, better compliance, better outcomes. It makes sense why they're appealing.
Exactly, for patients and for healthcare providers too.
Okay, that sets the scene nicely.
Okay.
Let's maybe unpack this with a bit of a global tour, because I understand the performance isn't the same everywhere.
Not at all. It varies quite a bit. So starting with North America, it's really the established leader here. The region pulled in over $2.1 billion in 2021, and it's expected to grow to, $3.75 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of nearly 4.85%. Still very strong.
And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the main player driving that. How's its trajectory looking?
Oh, absolutely. The United States is dominant. Sales there were over $1.7 billion in 2021, projected to cross the $3 billion mark by 2033. That's a solid 4.7% CAGR. It shows a mature good infrastructure, high demand for these advanced solutions.
Makes sense. What about Canada and Mexico? Are they keeping pace?
They are indeed. Canada's showing really healthy growth, actually, projected to go from around $230 million to about $440 million by 2033. That's an impressive 5.5% CAGR. It suggests they're adopting these patches quite strongly, and Mexico's consistent too. Almost $170 million in 2021, heading towards over $300 million by 2033. That's a 5% CAGR.
So convenience in adopting new tech seems key across North America.
Yeah, especially tech that reduces the sort of daily burden of taking medication.
Okay, let's hop across the pond to Europe. Different healthcare systems there, I imagine a more varied picture.
You're right, it's definitely more diverse. Collectively, Europe was about $1.24 billion in 2021. The projection is over $2.17 billion by 2033, so a CAGR pretty similar to North America, actually around 4.85%.
Interesting. But within Europe, any standouts?
Well, you see some differences. The UK, for example, is forecast to grow from just over 200 million to about 368 million. That's a 5.1% CAGR. Germany shows an even stronger rate, nearly 5.6% CAGR, going from roughly 236 million up to 447 million.
Why Germany, do you think? Stronger pharma sector, maybe?
That could be part of it, yes. Strong pharma, maybe a significant aging population needing these solutions. France is steady too, around 4.3% CAGR, heading from 170 million towards 280 million. And Italy, about 4.4% CAGR, going from 105 million to 176 million.
So solid growth across the major economies. Are there any notable differences? Maybe slower or faster growth in other parts of Europe?
Yeah, that's where it gets interesting to compare. Russia, for instance, has a slightly slower growth forecast, about 3.7% CAGR. Could be different spending priorities, maybe regulatory hurdles, hard to say exactly. But then you look at Spain, solid 5.1% CAGR. Sweden, similar, just over 5% as well. And countries like Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they're all showing similar steady growth patterns.
So the variations probably come down to local policies, patient preferences, maybe how quickly new tech gets adopted in each system?
Precisely. Access, prevalence of certain chronic conditions, lots of local factors playing a role.
Okay, now, you mentioned earlier that some regions are showing really promising acceleration. I think Asia-Pacific was the one.
Yes, exactly. Here's where it gets really interesting, as you said. Asia-Pacific is looking like a future powerhouse. The growth rate there is projected at a robust 6.2% CAGR. That's taking the market from just over 1.4 billion in 2021 to over 2.9 billion by 2033.
Wow, over 6%. What's the engine behind that kind of speed?
It's really a combination of things. Of significant uptake of new technologies is one factor. Also, proactive government healthcare initiatives. Many countries are really focused on modernizing public health.
Making non-invasive options attractive for big populations.
Exactly. And you've just got rapidly growing pharmaceutical markets across the region, eager for efficient, patient-friendly solutions.
And drilling down into specific countries there, who are the big players driving that 6.2% average?
Well, China is definitely the powerhouse in terms of sheer size. It's surging from nearly 400 million in 2021 to projected over 820 million by 2033. That's a strong 6.4% CAGR.
Okay, China's big. Anyone else really standing out?
India really stands out, has the highest CJR mentioned in the entire report. A phenomenal 7% growth.
7%.
Yeah. Projected to go from just over 212 million in 2021 to nearly 480 million by 2033.
What does that tell us about India's market?
It suggests a massive expansion of healthcare access, a growing middle class demanding more convenience, maybe even leapfrogging older delivery methods as they build out their systems. It's quite remarkable.
Definitely want to watch. What about Japan?
Japan's a strong player too, growing from about 234 million to nearly 450 million. That's a solid 5.5% CAGR. And we also see South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, Southeast Asia generally, all showing significant expansion. Their KGRs are mostly clustered between, say, 5.6 and 6.7%.
So Asia-Pacific really is the growth engine right now. Large populations, rising incomes, focus on advanced healthcare.
It's the perfect storm for this kind of technology, yes. Okay, moving down, let's look at South America, also showing healthy growth. The revenue there was almost 370 million in 2021, and it's forecast to hit over 700 million. 708 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of 5.57%. Very healthy.
And Brazil leading the charge there, I presume.
Brazil is still the largest market, yes. Expected to grow from 145 million to over 274 million. That's about a 5.45% CAGR. But it's definitely not just Brazil. Argentina, Chile, Peru, Colombia, they're all showing consistent growth too. Their KGRs are ranging from almost 5% up to over 6.1%.
And the driver there is similar, modernizing healthcare.
Pretty much. Modernizing systems, rising demand for alternatives that boost patient compliance and convenience, making healthcare easier and more accessible. Patches fit right into that strategy.
Okay, next up, the Middle East. What's the picture there?
The Middle East market was valued near $290 million in 2021. It's projected to grow to almost 550 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of about 5.5%. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Turkey are really leading here. Their growth rates are above that 5.5% mark.
So indicating a strong adoption of these advanced technologies.
Exactly. It fits with their broader healthcare modernization efforts. Lots of investment going into improving services, diversifying economies. Transdermal patches offer that modern, efficient solution. Plus, you have Egypt and Qatar contributing notably to the regional numbers as well.
Got it. And finally, Africa. What's the market look like there?
Africa accounted for almost $233 million in 2021, expected to rise to nearly 440 million by 2033. The CAGR there is just under 5%, 4.94%.
And who's leading within Africa? And why are patches particularly relevant, maybe?
Nigeria and South Africa are the main drivers. South Africa specifically shows a strong CAGR, almost 5.6%. And the relevance? Well, a lot of this growth is tied to expanding access to pharmaceuticals, not just in cities, but in rural and underserved areas, too.
So patches might be easier to distribute or use where infrastructure is challenging.
Precisely. They can be easier to administer, maybe have less stringent storage needs than injectables in some cases. So they offer a very practical solution for improving drug access and adherence, which is foundational.
Okay, so we've toured the globe. If we zoom back out now, what's the big takeaway? What does this all add up to?
Well, the really striking thing is just how widespread and robust this growth is. It's happening everywhere. It underlines this global shift towards wanting non-invasive treatments, better comfort, better compliance for patients. And you layer on top of that the expanding healthcare infrastructure, especially in emerging markets, plus this constant push for innovation in drug delivery, new drugs, smart patches, that sort of thing.
So the opportunities are pretty global then.
Absolutely. With that global CAGR over 5.2%, there are clearly significant opportunities across the board. It really points to a fundamental shift in how we think about delivering medicine, more patient-centric, more efficient.
Well, thank you for walking us through that. That was a really insightful deep dive into the transdermal drug patches market. Hopefully, for you listening, these insights help frame your understanding of where healthcare innovation is heading and where those global opportunities might lie.
And maybe just a final thought to leave you with. Consider how this relentless drive for pain-free, non-invasive options combined with these big demographic shifts, aging populations, growing middle classes globally, how might that fundamentally reshape healthcare delivery? Perhaps in ways we're only just starting to grasp. Could patches become the standard for many more treatments? It's certainly something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. That's all for this deep dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through interesting sources to bring you the insights that matter. Today we're getting into something pretty cool, actually. Transdermal drug patches. Yeah, the sources we've got are excerpts on innovation in drug delivery. Really interesting stuff. Our goal, to figure out what's pushing this market, what the sticking points are and where it's all headed. I think you'll find some surprising things here.
Wow, definitely. It's this fascinating intersection, isn't it?
hmm
Healthcare, tech, patient ease of use. It makes it a really rich area to explore how medicine is changing.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. First up, the big one. People really prefer non-invasive options now. I mean, it makes sense. Our sources stress this needle-free, pain-free alternative. Think about patients with chronic conditions or, kids and older folks. It's huge for them. And it's not just comfort, right? These patches give a steady, controlled release. That apparently really boosts patient compliance.
Right, and compliance. That's absolutely key. It's more than just remembering a pill. It's about reducing that daily burden.
Mm.
If you have a chronic illness, patches kind of take that task off your plate, and that leads to better management, fewer hospital visits, just a better quality of life overall. That's the real impact when we talk compliance.
That makes total sense. And that steadiness is crucial, especially with, well, another big driver. Chronic diseases are just everywhere. Things like hypertension, diabetes, heart conditions, they're unfortunately really common. And these conditions often need that continuous controlled dosing. Patches are kind of perfect for that. They cut down on how often you need to administer the drug, less chance of missing a dose.
Exactly. When keeping drug levels stable is critical to avoid problems, patches offer consistency. It's often much harder to get that same stability with pills you take now and then. It's a more reliable approach for long-term health.
Okay, but here's where I think it gets really interesting, looking at the sources, the technology. There's been huge progress in drug formulation and getting things through the skin permeability. The sources mention things like microneedles
Huh.
and permeation enhancers. What exactly are those? Are we talking tiny little needles creating holes or?
Yeah, that's basically the idea with microneedles. They're incredibly small, like hair thin. You likely wouldn't even feel them much, and make these tiny temporary channels, just enough to get past that tough outer skin layer, the stratum corneum. So larger molecules, things that normally couldn't get through, now they can. Permeation enhancers are different, though. They're chemicals. They temporarily make the skin barrier a bit more, let's say, welcoming, more permeable.
Yeah.
But it's reversible. No physical holes needed.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just about delivering more drug, it's about delivering different kinds of drugs, things that couldn't use patches before.
Precisely. It completely changes the game. Think about large molecules, like proteins or peptides. Usually, those need injections. No, maybe not. It really broadens the scope way beyond, nicotine patches or simple pain relief. Drugs we thought were too big or just unsuitable, they might be candidates now.
Okay, that's genuinely impressive. But like with any tech, there have to be downsides, right? It can't be perfect.
Yeah.
What are the main hurdles holding patches back from being used for everything?
That's a really important point. A major limitation is still the skin itself. I mean, its job is to be a barrier. So fundamentally, not every drug can get through effectively. It needs the right molecular properties, the right potency.
Right, and even if it can get through, there's a limit on how much drug you can pack into a patch and deliver over time. So like for situations needing a really high dose or something that needs to work super fast, patches are out.
Exactly. That dosage ceiling is a real constraint. Acute pain, emergencies, patches just aren't suitable there. It highlights the inherent limits. Biology still sets some rules, even with all the innovation.
And then there's the skin reaction issue. The sources mention irritation or allergies from using patches long term.
especially the adhesives.
Yes, and it might sound minor, but it's actually quite significant. Even mild irritation can make someone stop using the patch. They might switch therapies. So it directly impacts compliance and the long-term viability for that patient. Comfort is just as crucial as effectiveness.
Makes sense. And the final hurdle mentioned is cost. Development and getting regulatory approval sounds expensive and time-consuming.
Oh, absolutely. The R&D, the rigorous testing, meeting all the strict standards, it takes a lot of time and money. These costs can be a major barrier, especially for smaller or medium-sized pharma companies. It's a big investment up front, and the return isn't always guaranteed. That definitely slows things down.
Okay, so challenges aside, what about the future? Where is this technology heading?
Our sources point towards expansion into areas like hormone therapies and neurological treatments. I guess those areas really benefit from that steady, long-term delivery we talked about.
They really do. Think about hormone replacement estrogen, testosterone, or managing conditions like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. These are often lifelong conditions where stable drug levels are incredibly important. Patches can offer that stability, potentially with fewer side effects than, say, pills, which can cause peaks and troughs in drug concentration. It can make a big difference to quality of life.
And here's another bit that sounds straight out of science fiction almost. Smart patches. Wearable tech integration. These aren't just simple sticky squares anymore.
Not at all. This is potentially revolutionary. These smart patches, they don't just deliver the drug, they're being designed to actually monitor the drug release. Some can track vital signs, heart rate, temperature, and even sync up with your phone with health apps. If you think about the bigger picture, this is huge for adherence, for remote patient monitoring. Imagine your doctor getting real-time data. With wearables and personalized medicine booming, these smart patches, they could easily become the new standard. It's truly integrated health.
That's amazing. A patch that tells you if you're getting the right dose and how your body's doing.
Wow. And of course, we shouldn't forget the areas where patches are already well established. Smoking cessation, pain management. Nicotine patches are still a go-to, and pain patches are evolving too, right? With non-addictive options.
Yes, and that's incredibly important. Developing non-addictive pain relief alternatives is critical, especially given the ongoing opioid crisis in many parts of the world. Providing safer, effective ways to manage pain long-term is a massive public health win.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. It's really clear, isn't it? Transdermal patches are where healthcare, tech, and patient needs really come together. Hopefully, this gives you a better sense of how these innovations might shape medicine, maybe even your own health journey.
And maybe leave you with this thought. What happens when these smart patches aren't just delivering drugs, but constantly feeding back personalized health data? How could that shift our whole approach? Moving from just treating sickness to maybe truly integrated preventative health monitoring, something to ponder.